G'day guys, this is Jay from Journey by Whitefeather and a chat with Jay right here on Spotify and all good social media platforms. Kangaroos, koalas, Steve Irwin impersonations, and today I was hosting a Q&A for the People First Party here in Australia run by Senator Gerard Rennick. Now, we're going to have excerpts from that Q&A. They're going to be very insightful on how someone at a high level thinks about how to look after a country, and Senator Rennick came out with his opinions. And we're also going to throw in a few opinions from the other senators who were involved in this chat, Madison King and Jody Clune from WA, Western Australia. And we look forward to hearing your comments, look forward to actually giving you a conscious choice. Enjoy the next episode, this bonus episode of A Chat with Jay, Journey by Whitefeather, removing my mask, writing my story, and I'm hosting the Honourable Senator Gerard Rennick.
The gas issue that we've got, there's a lot of stuff in the news saying that we sell the gas off, we should be self-sufficient. What is People First going to do about those issues with regards to gas and any other, if you've got a renewables policy that we need to know about that could actually put more money in our pockets that we can put through? I'll start with Mr. Rennick.
Yeah, sure. So obviously what we want to do is our policy is to abolish the petroleum resource rent tax. It doesn't collect enough money from the multinationals on the sale of gas. That's because effectively, unlike just about any other tax policy, you're allowed to appreciate your costs with the construction costs and the running costs of all these gas fields. So because these gas fields have a very long lead time, if you spend $1 million, say it takes 5 years and you spend $1 million in year one to get the project up, and you lent that money into Australia as well. So not only you spent $1 million, but then you lent $1 million that was, say, at 5%. Chevron was trying it on at 9%. So you could index it. So they've got this crazy formula, index it plus the 9% interest. You're able to increase the costs every year, year on year. So that's why they're not, that's why we're not collecting enough royalties or petroleum resource rent tax, as they like to call it. So we should just abolish that altogether so that what the state government collects, what the federal government collects actually. So this is for offshore gas sales only. So any gas that's drilled or produced onshore in WA or any other state, there is royalties applied to that. That is collected by the state government. Those offshore gas fields in waters, in territorial waters that don't belong to any state, that belongs to the Federation or Commonwealth of Australia. So we need to do what the state governments do and charge a royalty of 5 to 10% on the sale, and then obviously 30% on any profits that are made. And the other thing I need to look at, I haven't had a chance to look at this yet, is whether or not payroll tax is actually charged and GST is actually charged on the equipment used, because my understanding of it was that they don't pay GST or
cattle,
payroll tax.
etc.
Yes.
Now, you can look at this two ways. You can look at it as Donald Trump bringing manufacturing, using his own products in his country and bringing back jobs and prosperity. That's the whole freaking role of a government, is to make sure that your country is sustainable with the products and the infrastructure that you have at home before you go overseas to get something cheaper. That's just logic. You don't go to Scud Shed the whole time because it's fresh fruit and produce, and then go down to Woolworths to spend more money, double the price. So it's just stupid. Secondly, I had another interesting comment on my ex account, which also said, and he's an American, he said, well, maybe I'm being a skeptic, but what if all of this is about us going to war?
Okay, they've had a lot of stuff about Medicare coming up and what they're doing, trying to sell Medicare off, or they're trying to reduce the amount of, they're saying they're going to increase bulk billing clinics, but it has decreased and people are concerned about that. Mr. Rennick, would you mind talking a little bit about that? Do you know anything that's happening around that situation there?
Well, the situation with bulk billing is ultimately the rebate that doctors were given wasn't increasing in line with the cost of running a hospital. And as a result of that, doctors had to start charging extra to cover the cost of running a business. Look, I mean, it's a hard one in the sense that, they do need to streamline some of that Medicare stuff. So, for example, when I had a dicky back for about 10 years, and I've sort of gradually worked out how to manage it. I'd have to go, if I wanted to get a packet of Voltaren, I'd have to go to the doctor just to get a script of Voltaren. And I'd often think to myself, well, why do I need to go back to the doctor? Actually, I had a lady contact me today, this morning, who went and got blood tests and then had to go back to a doctor to get the results of the blood test. And she was really annoyed because she had to pay another Medicare visit to go and get the results of her blood test. And she was upset about it. So that there does need to be, we do need to look at the way, the doctors, if you're going there, you see a doctor and they say get a blood test and then you've got to go back and get the results of your blood test, you shouldn't have to pay twice. And if you want to see a specialist, so after a while with the back injury I had, if I wanted to see the specialist when it would flare up, I'd have to go to the GP first to see the specialist. Actually, ironically enough, the last time that happened, when I thought I'd have to get the COVID shot because I couldn't go anywhere because I was locked out of everything. I had to go and see a GP to, in order to see a specialist, a heart specialist who was a mate of mine because I've got an arrhythmia in my heart. And just the fact that I knew I had to go to see a doctor to see someone that I already knew really grinds my gears. So that's something I think that we need to look at in terms of when you do need to go to the doctor, because what that's doing is that's putting a lot of pressure on the system. If you just got to go to the doctor and, all they've got to do is write out a referral, for example, to a specialist that you really need.
Fantastic there. Look, we've got a couple of questions with regards to wages. We're looking at wages and we're looking at tax cuts. I'll go around the table. Mr. Rennick, if you don't mind starting about what's your opinion with regards to the tax rates, especially in different states. We're looking at Victoria. Got a couple from Victoria here. Do you have a plan with regards to that? And could you explain it to the viewers and listeners?
Yeah, sorry. Is that in regards to payroll tax? Sorry.
Payroll tax, yeah, payroll tax and just general taxes. We've got a couple of them asking about general taxes that have been put up. We've got in Victoria, you've got land taxes being put up. We've got Airbnb taxes. They're just making it up as they go, and it's really putting.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sure. So state taxes are obviously a little bit awkward, for us to manage in the sense that their state tax is not federal, but payroll tax is a killer for productivity. The big mistake when Howard brought in the GST, and it wasn't his mistake, it was the mistake of the state premiers, was that they got rid of stamp duty on share trading. Now, I know some of your followers, the listeners tonight, mightn't like this, but basically that allowed high-frequency traders to come in, foreign high-frequency traders come into the stock market and start scalping it. So about $20 billion was lost in revenue when they lifted that, right, on that, and their paper assets. And this is what annoys me, is that foreigners can buy shares in this country with no stamp duty, yet if you're Australian trying to buy your first house, you have to pay stamp duty. Or if you're buying a farm or you're buying a business, you have to pay stamp duty. So we should bring that back in as a 1% turnover tax and then use that to abolish payroll tax. You'd need the state governors, the state premiers to agree, and every state would have to be better off, but that would be a good idea. The other thing is our income taxes are way too high in this country. It is completely absurd that the government is taxing you, taking your money even when you can't afford, the basics. And I just think it's absurd that we tax people when they earn less than the cost of living. So we have a policy to lift the tax-free threshold to $40,000 from $18,200. That would save everyone who earns $40,000 or more $3,500, which is most of the 14 million workers in this country. And my view is, if you look at the Howard Costello years, they used to cut income tax at every budget. I used to look forward to budgets back in those days because you always knew they'd cut.
I'd like to take this time to shout out our supporters at Liberty Bullion, the best gold, silver and platinum traders in Melbourne, even Australia. If you want to give them a call, their knowledge, their customer service is second to none. Back to the show. The TikTok talks that we've done with Chris Neal and Maddie and a few others have come on, which has been, and the best thing for what these talks have been, we've actually had people from One Nation, okay, people from other independent parties, which is great. We're having conversation. and free conversation. That's what we're looking for. What are the other things you're looking at with regards to getting yourself over the line? What are the other key points you're looking at to really hit a nerve with the Australian public?
To get Madison into the Senate, to get myself into the Senate, I really just need people to stop and to actually see what our actions are. Have a look and stop
Excellent.
and see the actions of Gerard Rennick. What are the actions of People First Party? Now, People First Party is actually it's a brand new party. It's first time having a card at the dance. But Jared's been around for years.
Yes.
I've been doing this and fighting wherever I can for years. Madison, she's not just popped up today. She's been fighting for the last few years. She's got a double degree. She's a very smart cookie. And, for Madison and myself, we've been pushed around. We've been knocked down and we keep getting up. And so people need to understand. And I think people do resonate with us because they see that we've been knocked down and we get back up.
Awesome.
They've seen that we are not just little wallflowers, that we are here to see results and that we are here to actually make a change. And that's where coming alongside with Gerard Rennick really has allowed us to be aligned with our own core values. I mean, here is a man who has actually been doing what we've been talking about. And, he for the last few years, the one thing that people need to really, if they want to see what's going on and see the guts of it, then I would encourage everyone to jump onto the Senate estimates, onto question time in Parliament, and watch when Gerard Rennick and a few of the others are putting questions that are affecting our daily lives, because we're the end result here. The way that we actually live, take the kids to school, pay the rent, get the groceries, have our job, keep our job. That all is the end result of what they are allowing or not allowing inside those chambers. Now, when they stand up, the rest of the Liberals and the Labors and the Greens stand up and turn their backs on the people of Gerard Rennick, Malcolm Roberts, the independent senators who have been fighting for us. That is not just an insult to those senators. That is an insult to the Australian people.